Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with round 17 of season 4 of the F124 driver career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the Singapore Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live on Monday, I would highly recommend going back and checking out. We returned to Baku, we had to go with our own new steering wheel, and it's safe to say we had a pretty fun time. Yes, for the first time in what feels like quite a few Grand Prix, we actually extended our World Championship lead, as now Fernando Alonso is our closest competitor as we head to Marina Bay this weekend. We've got just a 23-point advantage over the Aston Martin driver. Max Verstappen is just a further 2 points back at this stage of the campaign, so it is absolutely a three-way title fight at the top of the table, and I think this one is likely going to go down to the wire. Mechanical failures could be pivotal in who is going to be your Season 4 World Champion. As well, if you're new around here, please do make sure and leave a like, get yourself subscribed to the channel. We're trying to hit 140,000 subs. Looking at performance, it seems like Red Bull have actually got the jump once again at the top of the table in terms of theoretical performance. Ourselves and Aston Martin are pretty even. But if you guys have watched other series we've done on this game in F124, Alonso is rapid around Marina Bay as well. Of course, took the first ever win here back in 2008. With slightly dubious circumstances, it must be added. But yeah, Fernando Alonso, he loves this circuit. It's one that I love as well. So hopefully we can do a better job than we did in Baku qualifying and try to walk away with another big result.
It is one of our great cinematic settings of the season. Welcome to Singapore. We're under the floodlights with the walls close and pole position up for grabs.
Well, as I mentioned in the intro, Singapore, its place has always been a happy hunting ground for us since the new updates to F120, well, the track actually, of course, back on F123, and long may that continue this weekend as well. Would love to try and get another good result here around this venue, and like I said, if we could get that one race buffer over Alonso and Verstappen, I'd be very, very happy. Just give us that little margin of safety towards the end of the year. We are yet to have a mechanical failure this season. This Ferrari car has certainly been very, very different to the one we were lumbered with on our last campaign. But yeah, we're going to feature Q1 again. Obviously just where we struggled last weekend with that first session. Purple through the first sector though. I mean, that is probably going to be this car's strongest though around the lap. Sector 1 or Sector 3. Sector 2 we've got to just try and hang on and hope for the best. Well, I would like to try and get into a rhythm of making sure that we are out of Q1 fairly nice and tiny again. I'm hoping yesterday's, or sorry, Monday's video even, was just a bit of a one-off for us, and hopefully normal service can now resume as making our way through the final couple of corners. Still got a fair bit of spare battery, but that final corner completely flat out. We go P11. Not fantastic, but I'm sure on a soft compound run we should be safe. At times, I think we are just about safely going to make it through and into Q2 anyway. So already doing better than we did in qualifying last weekend in Baku. Yeah, we are safely into that second session. However, Lando Norris has found a huge amount of time on his second run. Of course, dominated the real-life Singapore Grand Prix just a few weeks ago. We look like we're going to be able to get pretty close to that time, though. I was just trying to learn where I can use my battery around the lap, and I think the answer is pretty much everywhere. There is chucking it through the final couple of corners, or avoid that wall on the exit of the chicane. Once again, completely flat out towards the line, and we go fastest on the board. Well, there we go then, clear of Lando Norris by just a tenth of a second at the end of Q1. You can see Charles Leclerc as well up in P5, so it looks like Ferrari's pace finally starting to come back the right way again. Carlos Sainz, the star of qualifying last weekend, down in P16. And pretty much now always, it's the two Williams and the two Saubers that go out in Q1. We'll hang out then on to our Q2 run. I'm just hoping we can make it through this session with just a single lap time on the board. I want to try and dip into the 125s this weekend. It does seem insane. This was a circuit that not too long ago, pole position times were in the 1 minute 40s. And I know obviously the track has changed quite a lot since then. Through the final couple of turns, though, up towards the line, it is going to be a 126.0, and Verstappen has got under the 126 benchmark. He is provisionally fastest. Well, Max Verstappen, he's a bit like Lewis Hamilton in sort of 2017, 2018, when his back's against the wall. he can bring out some ridiculous lap times, especially around a circuit like this where the driver does make the difference. We end up P2 there, both Aston Martins making it into Q3 as well. Both McLarens, both Red Bulls, Oscar Piastri and Pierre Gasly all safely through. How many times this year have we seen Lewis Hamilton narrowly miss out on Q3? Is it finally time for our fellow Brit to call it on his career? We're trying to give ourselves a little bit of breathing room then as we head back out onto the circuit, and even better, everybody else have actually just finished their first lap times. So we're going to have a bit of free track space to try and go for it here. We've only got Charles Leclerc, who I believe has also just wrapped up his first qualifying run. But down in P8 for our teammate, so not really the ideal one for him, unless he's just started it. And he's just trying to make sure he gets a decent time on the board there. Marina Bay, though. This is such a fun track to just throw a car around. It's been one that's not been fantastic for Ferrari in previous years. A couple of terrible memories, of course, from this circuit. 2008, Felipe Massa and the fuel pump issue. Or, yeah, I guess it's the fuel, I don't really know. The fuel line, fuel pump, I don't know. And then, obviously, 2017 as well. That famous one between Sebastian Vettel, Max Verstappen and Kimi Räikkönen on a wet Marina Bay circuit. But yeah, hopefully this weekend we can try and give the team a few more happy memories as well. Fernando Alonso winning here back in 2010. Sebastian Vettel claiming his last ever win here in 2019. Or, of course, one of the first times Ferrari looked... Well, it was the first Ferrari pole, wasn't it, in the turbo hybrid era back in 2015 as well around this circuit. Sebastian Vettel, he loved this place, and he was a very, very quick driver on his day as well around this venue. But through the final couple of corners, we're going to go up towards the start-finish line. I don't think this lap's going to be a 1 minute 25, but we're not going to be a million miles away. Yes, it is a 25.7. I was not expecting that. Oh, 40 seconds left on the clock then. Everybody that's got spare tyres has come back out there. And as I predicted pre-weekend, it was always going to be Alonso versus myself in the battle for pole position. We've got less than a tenth over him at the moment, and we might see Fernando set another benchmark. Verstappen suddenly springboards himself back up to the top of the order, 25.6. So times are continuing to improve around this venue right towards the end of the session. But will we be able to go quicker than the Dutchman again there? Just trying to chuck the car through the first couple of corners. Alonso hasn't improved. So your top three are your top three in the World Championship, but in a very, very different order as well. Just chuck the car over the curbing at the end of the Raffles Boulevard. Got to be careful with that. One of the only places you probably can get away with just like breaking yourself a little bit around this venue there. But yeah, this circuit, when the night light shines, it really does. This circuit, you know, it absolutely comes alive. And when you get a lap nailed here, there aren't many places better attacking the curbs before making our way over the Anderson Bridge. Oh, a little bit wide. No! Oh, just got that little bit of oversteer on the exit of the corner. Half a second down. I think we have completely ruined it there. Just attacked the angle too early over the Anderson Bridge there. And that has really, really cost us trying to gather up the throttle as early as we possibly could. And Verstappen, out of nowhere, right at the end of the session, we thought this was going to be a battle between the Aston Martins, the McLarens, and maybe ourselves. Verstappen, like I said, when his back's up against the wall, he can find something extra. The Dutchman will line up on pole. Well, there we go. Max Verstappen right when he needed it. Pole position here in Singapore by just a tenth and a half in the end. We line up P2 ahead of Alonso, with both McLaren cars there leaving their best pace right to the end of the session. Charles Leclerc really struggled all the way down in P9. But yeah, we've got our work out today. Once again, it's us versus our big title rivals at the front of the order. I definitely feel like we could have had pole, but we're more interested in the 26 points come the end of the race.
It's the Singapore Grand Prix, where Sebastian Vettel has the most wins here with 5. Who will be lifting the trophy today here at the Marina Bay circuit? This is a wonderful racetrack to come to, but it's sometimes been a bit tricky to overtake. We have a new layout to try and change all of that. Reduced to 3 miles, it's turn 16 and turn 19, which has gone from corners to a straight. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and Firestarter completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Fernando Alonso, Norris, Stroll, Perez, Oscar Piastri, Leclerc, Gasly, Hamilton, Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, Ocon, Russell, Tsunoda, Sainz, Albon, Behrman, Joe, and Frederick Vesti. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today.
Well, here we are then, ready on the grid for the Singapore Grand Prix. 31 laps ahead of us, and this place you've got to look after the tyres. We saw it in Baku last weekend. We were able to make the correct strategy call and storm through the rest of the front runners right towards the end of the afternoon. Here at Marina Bay, though, the softs don't tend to work very well. They can go fairly far, but very, very quickly, the mediums just become a better race tyre to try and use as well. We've actually got the inside line ready for turn 1, but I'm not expecting us to get a better start than Verstappen alongside me. Let's do this thing, though. It's time for the Singapore Grand Prix. 5 red lights. It's going to be lights out. Oh, and away we go there. And Verstappen hasn't got off to a good start. Fernando Alonso has, though. All 3 of us side by side in towards turn 1, but it's Alonso that will move to the front of the order there. Verstappen immediately drops down to P3, and we will say, whoa, thank you very much there, and try and hang on to P2. Little bit of a moment off the exit of that first couple of turns. Be careful not to drop it on the exit there. And Alonso, once again, for the oldest man currently on the Formula 1 grid, he reliably seems to get the best starts inside this game. The wily old fox has still got a few tricks up his sleeve, as that Stroll trying to wrestle his way in between those 2 Red Bull cars. Obviously McLaren as well, not getting off to a particularly good getaway for them either, dropping down the order. But yeah, Verstappen, though, he will not be happy with that horrendous hookup right from the moment the lights dropped there. Just could not get the first phase of power down, and Alonso and I both able to capitalise as we're just trying to settle into a rhythm on this opening lap there. A little bit of understeer as we make our way off the Anderson Bridge, and Alonso, he's just, it's plain and simple, he knows the plan here is just try and check out on lap 1. We cannot let the Spaniard get away. Of course, he is now my main championship rival, and we know just how quick he is at a few of these venues towards the end of the year. We've got to keep him in our sights. We've got to try and stay in his DRS as we come towards the end of lap 1. That could have been better. It could have been worse. Well, I see this quite a lot inside F1 24. Fernando Alonso, when he gets to the front of the Grand Prix, he really tries to go out there and attack right at the start of the race. Tries to basically force everybody else into either dropping at that DRS range or using all of their battery to try and keep up with him. So looks like that is again what he's going to try and do here. We have only just stayed inside the DRS range, as Verstappen behind us as well looks pretty quick. But you can see both of their number 2 drivers in Stroll and Perez absolutely fallen away early on. 2.6 seconds, and well, it's Grand Prix like today where I think, you know, your World Championship drivers all try and find that little bit extra. We could end up, all 3 of us, pushing each other to the limits and really running away from the rest of the cars. Well, we talk about how quick Alonso likes to go out the gate here. We don't often talk about how quickly his pace seems to start to suffer because of it. I mean, yeah, we got to hope Charles Leclerc has a good race here as well, because I do still want to try and wrap up another Constructors' title for Ferrari as well here. That one, I mean, Aston Martin, yeah, are looking very, very strong towards the end of the year, and maybe if Perez can bring out some better results as well, he could be a bit of a threat there. Really nice run, though, out onto the Raffles Boulevard as Alonso. Boy, I think we both wanted to try and get to the inside there. Somehow we are the one that does so in the end, as wheel to wheel will go with the Spaniard through the next couple of corners. Second weekend in a row, we have battled with him for the lead of a Grand Prix, and Alonso that time round able to just get on the brakes later around the outside and chop across. But that could have been an airplane crash early on in the Grand Prix. Right, well, let's see if we can try that again then against Fernando Alonso. This seems to be one of the only tracks on the calendar where the AI really do seem to shred through their tyres worse than I do. So around the outside we'll go again. We'll have the inside line there. This time I'm going to be a bit further in front. That was aggressive with the Spaniard, and maybe had the tables been turned there, He might have perhaps given me a little bit more room down the end of that straight, but we'll power our way back through. We're not here to make friends this late on in the season. We've got a handful of races still to go, as that was so close to the inside wall. Well, on to lap 7, though. Alonso now trying to look back down the inside, down the end of the Raffles Boulevard, and will once more slot back up into the lead of the Grand Prix. Trying to look back around his outside through the very next corner there, but Verstappen, oh, he is hungry to try and make a move happen as well, if he can do. He took that pole position. He won't want to spend all afternoon just watching Alonso and I fight. But strategy could be quite critical in this one. Have to wait and see how things pan out. I'm hoping as well, inside F124, they do add that 4th DRS zone as well. Down in towards the final couple of turns. So, oh, come on. What is that? Get off the wall, Matt. No! No! I ran down the wall and we've got a puncture! Very early on in the Singapore Grand Prix. I apologise, Lance. I'm trying to stay out of the way as best as we can, but the tyre's completely gone on us. And just, I forgot how quickly that can happen as we're trying to just make our way through. Don't run into Charles. Try not to damage the wing. Oh, I cannot believe I've done that. How do we not do that in Baku, as I can't even try and get into the pit lane here. That was definitely not a legal pit entry, but on just lap 8 then, we are already into the pit lane here, as that has gone disastrously for us. Into the pit box we'll go. They will still put on hard tyres that will hopefully go to the end. 2.4 second stop isn't bad.
Fantastic stop, faster than we were expecting.
It's not game over. It's not good, but it's not game over yet. We will have plenty of time to try and fight our way back in. But yeah, just a horrible little moment in this Grand Prix.
Penalty for dangerous driving if you cross onto the track.
Oh, but yeah, I don't think I've ever done that inside F124. Had a puncture from rubbing down the wall. It felt really odd. The car just kept trying to drag me out towards it. So I wonder if the rear wheel as well was rubbing down it. And that was kind of just forcing the front end towards the wall even more. Well, our plan now, though, is very, very simple in this Grand Prix. Basically, what we need to do now is work these tyres hard, try and get the undercut on Alonso and Verstappen, and hope that they continue to battle up towards the front of the order.
Somewhere on the internal combustion engine, be aware that we're going to start to see a loss of power.
If we get a mechanical failure here as well today, I will be very, very sad. But, yeah, we can still win this race. But we've got to try these next kind of 5 or 6 laps. They have all got to be qualifying laps. Oh, no! That's just screwed.
Okay,
Oscar Piastri's gone. What on earth has happened to the McLaren and the Mercedes man even? And we are in big trouble. I mean, you could just see Oscar Piastri. He's full throttled it into that wall. What on earth is that? Crashgate 2.0 has just occurred here, ladies and gentlemen. And I got no idea why Oscar Piastri doesn't want me to win the world title. Maybe Mercedes are upset that we're still having meetings with McLaren. But Oscar Piastri's out of the Grand Prix. And we are, I mean, everybody's going to get a free stop. We are in such trouble. There we go. Yep, Alonso, Verstappen, everybody else is going to peel into the pit lane here. So we are probably going to re-emerge at the back of the field. And whereas Baku last weekend, we probably didn't have the pace and got very lucky. This weekend, it seems like the opposite is going to happen. Is there any other strategy I could do? Could I try and go back to mediums or something like that? I'm not convinced we can. Tempted to try, though, as we haven't really got a lot to lose. We'll try and stay out, though, and just make sure that we see if we can claim some free track position here. We should be able to get quite a few spots back, actually. Looking at it, we're going to be out ahead of Esteban Ocon in his Alpine. In fact, we're actually back up inside the top 10. So that went better than I thought it would. Careful not to pick up a penalty. Thank you. A little bit cheeky with the Delta, but that's perfectly legal in Formula 1. So if anything then, we've just lost a few places from when I had the puncture, and now everyone is back in the same boat. Well, early on then, it feels like we've kind of had a similar strategy to what ended up going down in Baku. Admittedly, we never got a puncture there, but yeah, it's safe to say we've had a couple of crazy races stacked up against each other. We're barely at 1/3 distance here in Marina Bay. Still 20 laps left to go, though. Alonso leads the way ahead of Verstappen, so both of them will be looking to try and take points out of us in the championship as Alonso gets to dictate the pace. When do we go out through those final couple of corners? About now, then, by the looks of it. And we've got to try and get our elbows out. We've got to try and move back through the order as quickly as possible. Admittedly, Oscar Piastri, I don't think I realised it at the time, but it's given me a bit of a lifeline. We'll try and go around the outside of his teammate, Lewis Hamilton, off of those first couple of turns. Down the inside, ready for turn 5. And up then we go once more. We've got to get brave with the overtake. Well, in the ideal world for us, what we need to see at some point during this race is that Alonso and Verstappen start going side by side. Of course, we haven't really allowed them to battle each other so far this afternoon.
Enabled DRS. DRS is now online.
We did spend most of the early laps here up in second position, kind of splitting them both. Can we try and get a run on Stroll, though, as well, a little bit further behind? That second Aston Martin, he will be told to try and get the elbows out. Currently in this Ferrari sandwich, but this is Lance Stroll.
Let's go. Let's try and get past them and put them on the back foot. Push, push.
We've got a huge run on him. Aston Martin got a lot of straight line speed, but not as much as us. As around the outside we'll go once again, and just like Baku, we are having to be the one making all the overtakes. Well, it is a bit of a shame that that safety car came when it did, because ultimately, yeah, everybody has, you know, understandably moved to the hard compound tyres to see him through to the end of the afternoon. But pit stop strategy can be quite interesting here in Marina Bay. I mean, we're just following Charles Leclerc along, and I just simply don't have the pace at the moment to get anywhere near our teammate. But I think we're all just trying to settle in, get into a rhythm here, ready for the second half of the afternoon. And like I said, Alonso, once more, you can see him just trying to pull away from Verstappen, see if he can break that DRS. You almost managed it in Baku, obviously until we got in the way, but yeah, is he going to be able to do it here when we're not as much of a threat right now? And could that then... We basically just want to see two cars battle and kind of back everybody up a bit more. That's what I'm hoping for. Hope Ferrari will be on the radio telling Charles Leclerc to get out of the way pretty soon, because he just doesn't quite seem to be able to keep up with Sergio Perez in front of him here. And I think once again, Ferrari just lacking the ultimate out-and-out pace of some of our competitors here, and also Charles Leclerc just this season seems very demotivated as we're going to try and look around the outside of our teammate. He will break early. Well, I'm not convinced he intended on letting me by there, but he has done. Up into P5 we go. And now, yeah, we've got to try and start making moves on quicker cars. But once again then, we saw Leclerc just struggle to keep up with the front-running pace, and he's very much dropped back into the clutches of Lance Stroll. Sergio Perez is another one that just doesn't quite seem like he's got enough to reliably stay in the range of Lando Norris. He's about 9/10 back at the moment, so we will still get that DRS, but if we can use the battery here, try to once again get a run. The AI, how many of them want to try and defend the inside line there, and how many of them is it not going to work for? That time around we just struggled to quite get it stopped as early, but now 4 cars, 4 different teams inside your top 4.
Good job.
And they are 4 of your top drivers in the World Championship. Lando Norris, haven't really counted him as much of a threat this weekend. Although his odds of a world title aren't particularly great this year, not impossible for him. Well, I guess for Max Verstappen, he needs to decide at this point, oh, what's Lando Norris doing? Whether he thinks trying to beat Alonso here is more important, or whether trying to beat me here is more important to him. Does he want to take points out of me in the championship? Does he want to take points out of Fernando Alonso? I mean, Lando Norris seems to really be struggling all of a sudden. Not often do we make moves down here, but we'll certainly try and go for it around the outside of the McLaren. And there we go, up into P3 then. I was about to say, unless those two at the front really start to battle, seems like everybody's just a bit settled in now. But, yeah, I mean, now, with Lando Norris out of the way, you're top 3 again in the World Championship. You're top 3 on the road. And let's see if we can try and force errors. We are still hungry towards the end of this. There's not many rounds to go with the World Championship. And we need to just give ourselves that margin of safety. But admittedly, there are only so many times I can sit and watch Verstappen not get the run on Alonso towards the end of this Grand Prix before I start to think that maybe we can try and get around the Red Bull car here. 7 laps to go of this GP. And let's just try and push the envelope a little bit with the Dutchman this time. See if we can try and get a run on him there. As you can see, he will go defensive on me. Oh, that time around we just haven't quite got the speed there. Carried along is Verstappen, but we'll try and have a look back down the inside. Oh, big diving maneuver there, and this might give Alonso just that little breakaway that he needs. Around the outside we'll go, though, at the top of the circuit, and we will make it through then on Max Verstappen. So, an audacious little attempt to try and unsettle the Dutchman. We've rattled his cage. We are back into P2 once again at this Grand Prix. And now we've got just a handful of laps to go. If we want to try and win this thing once again, it is between myself and Fernando. Well, the tyres are definitely just starting to give up towards the end of the afternoon as well. So I get so many parallels between this and Baku. Yeah, Mark warning me of exactly the same thing there. 5 laps left after this one. Here from Marina Bay there is Alonso. Also withstood pressure from Sebastian Vettel, I believe it was, back in 2010. Oh, Alonso's binned it! Alonso's binned it! We barely avoided him! And suddenly, I talk about pressure. Alonso has crumbled late on in the day.
Not using as much fuel as we need to, so let's burn through some more now so that we're not too heavy at the end of the race. Okay.
And we got a virtual safety car. Surely that's going to be a red flag. He's caused a roadblock.
Okay, slow down, slow down. Your delta's negative, which means you're going too fast. Reduce your pace.
And what a crazy moment towards the end of the Grand Prix. We've seen Verstappen bottle it here before in years gone by inside this game, but Fernando Alonso drops the throttle. We almost get collected by him, but somehow now, after everything that's gone on, we are back into the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix. Let's take a look. What on earth did Fernando do? While riding on board then with Fernando Alonso as he makes his way out the first couple of corners, you can see us filling his mirrors and just nicks the inside curb. You see how close he came to hitting us as well on the exit of the corner there, but Alonso picks up front wing damage. He's going to try and move back onto the road as quickly as he can. Leclerc then is going to run into him as well there. Then he finally gets ghosted, which I still wish you could permanently disable inside the F1 game. But Alonso in the wars, he's taken Charles Leclerc with him, and that is a horrendous way to almost finish this Grand Prix. Now we're green flag racing again towards the end of the afternoon, but we didn't even have to try and make the move on Fernando Alonso in this Grand Prix. Verstappen as well. I don't know how much of a threat he's going to be, but once more, the hunter has become the hunted late on in the day here at Marina Bay.
13.1 seconds.
5 laps to go though. Surely now we can try and bring this home, and surely as well Fernando Alonso's confidence in this World Championship has been dented massively. Well, more than 20 years of Formula 1 experience under his belt, and I'm trying to think. I'm not convinced I know a single time where Fernando Alonso has binned it from the lead of a Formula 1 Grand Prix. It doesn't happen often in this sport. But yeah, Fernando Alonso today has paid the price as he loops round in last place still of all the cars running. And I mean, he has reclaimed fastest lap, so I guess that's 1 less point for Verstappen, but that is going to be small consolation for him. The Dutchman has continued to apply pressure to me right towards the checkered flag here. We've been able to keep him at arm's length for these last few laps here, just using the battery down the Raffles Boulevard every single time. Just doesn't really give Verstappen an invite to really look for anything here. And once again, as Grand Prix go, it could have ran a whole lot smoother for us, but it has been dramatic there as Zhou Guan Yu out of the race on the very last lap, so disappointment for him and Sauber. But for us here at the front of the order, once again, we are going to walk away with a nice, healthy point advantage. And we will, hopefully, as long as I bring this home, get the gap over Verstappen and Alonso to over 25 points there. I was not expecting that by Fernando, as we just make a little bit of a mistake over the Anderson Bridge. Actually, Verstappen, I tell you what, he's not going to give up on this just yet there. Tries to have a look around my outside. It would just like cover him off in towards the final few corners here as the engine warning light just flashes up. Luckily, the Dutchman won't be able to do anything.
Next part of the track, no overtaking through the yellow flags.
In through that next chicane there, and as we round our way through the final couple of corners, back-to-back victories here to finish off one of the legs of the season. It is P1.
Yes! Come on, boys! Ah, fantastic drive. That's just fantastic. Amazing. You deserved that race win. Well done, mate.
They've endured the harsh conditions here in Singapore then to pull off a spectacular victory.
Well, that's 2 wins in a row for them now. That's really going to help them gain confidence and start to build that momentum that they're really going to be looking for.
Here come our winners now. A thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again.
There we go then, P1 admittedly by just less than 0.4 of a second over Max Verstappen, but the 25 points go our way and a bit more of a championship buffer as well. There, Lando Norris in P3 in the end, ahead of Perez and Esteban Ocon there, with Russell, Stroll, Hamilton, Gasly, and Yuki Tsunoda making it an Alpine double points finish. They are slowly building up momentum right towards the end of the campaign there. Leclerc all the way down in P13, a bit disappointing for him. Still able to beat, though, Fernando Alonso, with Zhou, Albon and Oscar Piastri all failing to see the checkered flag. What does that do for the championship? Well, it gives us a 32-point lead over Verstappen there. Alonso now 48 points back as Norris rejumps Leclerc as well. So, yeah, maybe, just maybe, this is going to be between Verstappen and I. But if Alonso can string a couple of wins together right towards the end of the campaign, you can't fully discount him just yet there. We build up a little bit more of a buffer again over Aston Martin. 57 points now is about a race weekend's margin over them as well. And let's be fair, we don't expect Stroll to score big points anywhere. Alpine, you can just see, yeah, really open up the gap over VCARB once more late on in the campaign. Still the closest battle, I think, is going to be between Red Bull and McLaren. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready in COTA.